What it was. 9:45.
We're $5 late.
Okay, when I find it, I'll do it.
That's not fair.
Yeah. Right. Late job. We don't have a word chart. We. Maybe in virtual, maybe in the metaverse. We can create one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Great to have you all here for the January member meeting of the Sunflower Technology Club. If you don't know me, my name is Kathy Mays, president of the club. Larry Schreier is the vice president and tech guru. He's the one who really runs the show here. And Liz Perry's not here, she's on a cruise. We have Lorraine Rodriguez, our secretary, and Martin Rodriguez, our director. So we're the crew that tries to bring you all this stuff. And before we start with our tech talk, I'd just like Larry to give an update on the lab. There's always something going on.
Okay, for the lab, we actually have, all the computers have been updated now. So all new computers in there for the PC side. One thing you will need to do to sign on that we learned this morning, because I thought it automatically did it. And if the screen is dark, just hit a key on the keyboard. Moving the mouse doesn't do it anymore. You have to actually hit a key on the keyboard, and any key will bring it up, and it brings the screen up, and then you can sign on the same way you always have. So that's kind of one of the new little gimmicks to the new Windows 11. So there's all kinds of little things like that that we'll find. One thing I want to say though is if you find a problem, if you find something that's not working right, be sure to write it down. There's the book that's in the holder on the side there by the conference room door. And then there's also one on the whiteboard. So you can write down either place and we'll go over it and see what's going on and what's working and not working, that kind of thing. But all of the office products now, Word, Excel, all of that, should all work without any kind of sign on or anything. So that will all work for you. But if there is anything else that you're aware of or that you see that isn't right, just be sure to write it down so we can get it fixed. One other thing we're doing, since we have replaced all the computers, we will have computers for sale for, we've decided around $40. They're not worth a lot. Most of them, I think they're from 2010 to 2014 is the age of them. They're all running Windows 10. We have one that was purchased in 2018. So, but we'll be cleaning those up. I think we have two we have to clean up yet. And then we'll have those all for sale. I'll put the information out with the computer name and memory and hard drive size and all that kind of stuff. I'll put all that out probably next week. Once we get them cleaned up, I'll put out an email to the club so we can get those sold if possible. So
External drives.
external drives, the DVD drives.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no DVDs on these new computers. So what we did was we purchased 2 DVD drive externals. System 5 has one that's currently installed on it. It can be moved if you need to. You need to use it on a different computer. We also have an extra one that we can loan out. We can use in there. Additionally, we actually have to use it in here as well because this computer doesn't have a DVD either. So just be aware we do have that available too for members. So anything else?
One on the iMac. A DVD drive.
Oh, there is a DVD drive for the iMac as well. That is also in the locker. I think I'm going to go ahead and put that out so it'll be out there all the time. Anybody who needs to use DVD. So that's one of the things that all the new computers are coming without is a DVD drive. So,
They see these on it?
yes, a DVD drive will do DVDs, CDs. It'll record also, it'll record DVDs or CDs if you want to put pictures on a DVD or something like that. You can do that through these drives as well. So they're pretty amazing for 25 bucks.
Thank you, Larry. And once again, like every month, I think Larry owns the applause. So we have been fortunate to recall our speaker for today, Tony Berger from Watermark University. You know, with the Tech Talks, we keep asking people, what do you want to know? What do you want? And we're not getting a lot of response. We have to figure things out. And Tony has become quite adept at virtual reality. So I would like to just remind you all that with all of our speakers, that we invite them to come and talk. That is in no way an endorsement of any products or services they have, but we always appreciate their volunteering to come and talk. So, Tony, take it away.
Thank you so much. So happy to be back. You know, last time I came with a lot of jokes. I tried my best this time. Couldn't really find any good ones for virtual reality. Turns out the reality is they're virtually impossible to find. It's really the only one I can come up with. So anyhow, I brought a short presentation to show you guys just about virtual reality in general, just kind of talking about what it is. And then also we're going to touch a little bit on what the metaverse is, if you guys have heard that kind of buzzword in the news, about Mr. Zuckerberg and what he's doing with all that jazz. So if you don't mind, Larry, we'll go ahead and take it away first with our PowerPoint presentation. Into the metaverse we go. There we go. All right, let's jump to the next slide, I suppose. All right, what is the metaverse? So metaverse is a virtual reality space in which users can interact with computer-generated environment and other users. So it's a big old bunch of words to say, it's essentially a way for us to all, like, hypothetically, if all of us were at home and we all put these little virtual things on our faces, I could look over here and I could still see Katya sitting over here and I could still see Larry sitting there, because you could pick, there should be a virtual space, right? This would just be a fake world. And if we wanted to have you wanted to go see a stand-up comedy show, but you don't want to leave your living room and you still wanted to sit next to your friends, you could do that. You could have a table, and you could have fake popcorn that you could throw up on stage, and you could have somebody come up and grab the microphone and actually be standing up here and doing it, and you would be seeing it all and experiencing it as close to what you're doing now. So that's the end goal. That's what they're really targeting. That's what we say metaverse. Meta is referring to after or beyond. That's like originally a Greek word that means after. So like think like metaphysical. That's where they're getting that terminology from. And then obviously verse is for universe. So they're thinking hypothetically, we could in the future all just get glasses that are no much more larger than these. And then, you know, we could see this virtual space. And that involves also a thing that they call like augmented reality, which is when they just overlay things in your space that you're in. So maybe I don't know where I'm going. You could get a GPS to pull right up on your glasses and say, oh, there's an arrow right on the road, and it can tell me, oh, turn this way, now turn that way. That would be something that'd be really useful for some of us here, I think. You know, if you go into a university you've never been to, and you go to a specific classroom, you just pull up the class you didn't go to, and it tells you exactly where to go. These are kind of the end goals for some of these things, is what they're really, really targeting. But, you know, we're kind of at the very infancy stage of that still. But let's go and jump to the next slide. All right, so VR actually was very first started. The first foray into that was in 1957 with this little thing here that was called the Sensorama. The Sensorama. So you also had smells in there. This guy, but it was a whole machine. Look how big this thing is. You had to go and sit in a chair, stick your face inside this huge thing, and you couldn't walk anywhere. You couldn't turn your head really. It was just, you look inside this thing and it would block out the other world. They didn't even really call it virtual reality back then. This is just the first example of that. Let's go ahead and jump to the next thing here. All right, then they had this thing called the Virtual Boy. Maybe you guys remember some of this. Maybe some of your kids wanted this way back in 1995. Not that that's way back, but from a technology standpoint, you know, as we said, we're phasing out computers from 2010 to 2014. That's another 20 years after this. So this is what it looked like. It's not the best picture here, but the thing was still really big. Didn't have a whole tripod to hold it up, because if you put it on your face, you'd be falling over. And then you can't see right behind this little thing, there's a controller that's connected with a wire. And then when you put your face in it, this is what it looked like. It was just a whole bunch of kind of like laser looking stuff. This is supposed to be a pinball game. You can see the little flippers here, but this is what it looked like in the Virtual Boy in 1995. And the batteries in this thing lasted like an hour, and then you have to put new batteries in. It was kind of crazy. All right, let's jump ahead from that. All right, let's fast forward really far to the year 2016. So we're talking almost 21 years later from that last one that we just saw. This is the first one. This was from Oculus, was the company. Facebook purchased them, and now they go by Meta. But this is, let me unplug it. This is what they got it down to. It's about the size of a cell phone on the front, about the size of a larger smartphone here, because that's really what this, it's kind of a fancy smartphone in here that has two separate screens. And then on the inside, they have these lenses. So you might think, if I put my cell phone this close to my face, you wouldn't be able to tell what's there. So it's just too close, it'll be too blurry. So these lenses, it's kind of like a reverse magnifying glass, to where it, you know, it's kind of like you look through it and it's like you took binoculars and turned them around, right? Everything looks really tiny. And so that's exactly what these lenses in here do. So they make it to where you can put it close to your face and it's not going to really damage your eyesight. Although they do say that they don't recommend it for children under 13 because your eyes are still developing. They also probably say that about smartphones and computer screens and all that stuff. And what are we doing that? Anyhow. So when they came out with that Quest 1, they came out with these controllers. So you have one for each hand, and there's a weird little loop. Anybody have any guesses for why there's a loop on here? Well, there's a loop at the bottom for your wrist, so you don't chuck it through a window like the Wii. So you guys have ever played that. But this loop on top, actually, we can't see it. It's invisible to the human eye, but there's a whole bunch of little LED dots that shoot infrared light out. And then this Quest device has cameras on the outside that look for those infrared lights. There's cameras on each corner here. There's one on top, on that side, on that side, and on that side. These cameras, just so you guys know, a large concern with virtual reality is privacy. What are these cameras seeing? Where are they sending this information? So because of the amount of processing that this machine takes, they don't really have the juice to really be sending out the camera feed anywhere else. It stays local to your device. Anything that's actually on the cameras on the outside stays local and stays on this machine. It doesn't go out to Facebook and everybody else. It just stays here. But since there's cameras, they also have the ability now, you can control some of the games just with your hands. It has enough tracking to see each finger, and you can, I'm going to show you guys an example of one of those here today. But the only real drawback to those games and to a lot of virtual reality is that you can't actually feel it or get any sort of tactile feedback. You know, we take for granted that when we pick up things, when I pick this up, I don't even have to look. I can tell it's in my hand and I can pick it up. But in virtual reality, you can't feel it. Your eyes can see you pick it up and you can see your virtual fingers grab something. But we might be getting a little ahead of ourselves. That was the Quest 1. Let's go to the next thing there, Larry. All right, so that was 2016. Now we're in 2018. That thing, when it first came out, was $600. I don't know if you just wanted to try something, but $600 is a little bit of a big investment. So Facebook was like, well, let's dumb it down. Let's get rid of the cameras on the outside. Let's shrink down the controller to just a clicker. And let's get this thing to a price point that like mom and dad can afford for their kids or whatever. So they can bring in some more money. So this was only like $200. But again, it was very limited in what it could do, because it only had one controller. These ones each have two controllers, one for each hand. And they have the ability to do a bunch of different things that this thing cannot. So there's several more buttons on these controllers than was on this one. So they just wanted to start making some digital money. This one did not sell very well because word got out that it was, not that great of an experience and not much more than you could do with your phone. And they're like, who needs it? All right, so then let's go to the next one. They said, let's redo the Quest. Now, I want to point out real quick, one of the things that they figured out was to make it a little bit smaller. So this is the Quest 1. This is the Quest 2. Can't really tell too much from a distance, but they did make it a smidge smaller, so it's not hanging as far off of your face. It's a little bit lighter. And then the strap, you can tell this one's a little bit more kind of invasive. It kind of cradles those wraps all the way around your head and cradles it in this big Y shape. This one's just more of like a fabric-y one that just kind of stretches out real nice. This is the first one I ever used. Tend to find it much more comfortable. But you can kind of see here, they have little speakers integrated right into the headset. You can, the controllers look almost exactly the same. There were some updates kind of to like how they function, but more or less they're still the same. I think the next thing we have is just a couple examples of some like games and experiences that you can do. Yeah, so this is a YouTube video. If you want to go ahead and click play on that, hopefully it'll play for us. This is an example of Tai Chi. That's something you can learn in here. You can learn through virtual reality as well. And it can track your hand movements and it can see how well you're doing it. I think you just click right in the middle of the video and it'll play.
No, not playing.
Maybe try to hold control and click maybe.
No,
Hmm,
doesn't want to play.
interesting. Let's give it a whirl here. Weird.
I don't see it play, but
Huh. That's well, let's just try spacebar. Darn it. Darn it. Well, maybe you'll just have to take my word for it. We can probably just pull the videos direct if they don't play in here. Anyhow, I brought a couple examples of things you can watch people doing. This one is Tai Chi, so you can, if you guys have ever done Tai Chi, it's kind of like a meditative. It's all about kind of movement based and flowing movements and things like that. And maybe you're too embarrassed to go to a class and do it in front of a bunch of people. So you just go in your bedroom, close the door, sit in a chair, get this out, and you start going with the class in here, this virtual class. And it keeps track of where your hand movements are, and it keeps track of the movement that you're doing, and you can hear this kind of meditative music really close to you and things like that. And you can tell, the game's going to tell you in this instance, if your hands are going where they're supposed to be going, or then it's going to give you a score, and you can try to improve upon that score so you can tell how you really improve it. Things like that. Let's just jump to the next one. Hopefully we'll look up these videos, but this is an example of a game you can do, Flight Simulator. That's really immersive to be able to actually feel like you're in the cockpit of an airplane, actually shooting down people over the Pacific. This guy at the very beginning of this video is really funny. He's shooting these rockets and he's, oh, I hit someone. But you'll just have to picture it. I'll pull up the videos separately, I think. And then this is the one I'm really excited to show you guys, is the one where it just uses your hands. I hadn't really played this one until last night, actually, to be honest with you. Last night, I was just kind of putting some finishing touches on the presentation. I said, oh, this one looks interesting. Because I'm from the Watermark over here, which is assisted living. And those folks, we have the opportunity once every couple of weeks, we do a virtual reality class. And people come in and just meet with me, and I'll show them how to do a couple of things. People have done like painting in virtual reality. People have ridden horseback in virtual reality. But the biggest obstacle typically is the controller, because not everybody's grown up using controllers like I have, and you're not as familiar with where the buttons are, especially if you can't see them because your face is covered up. So this one's really cool because you're just using your hands. It's literally just watching what your hands are doing. And you could do all kinds of different things, just directly like that.
Just a minute.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
All right. Go to the next one. So that's just a couple examples of ones that are available in the virtual reality with that Quest 2. And then just last year, they came out with what they call the Quest Pro. So this one, they went back to that, let's charge everybody a bunch of money. This one's $1,500. I got this one for $300. So it came down from the original Quest. The price actually went down. It was very surprising for everyone, but they're like, we got to get people to buy this if we're going to want to keep doing this. So they really, really lowered the price and got an entry in. And then, so just this last year, they came out with the Quest Pro. One thing that I want you guys to notice is you see how big the front end of this is. Because again, it's still hanging on, still pulling on your face a smidge. After about an hour or two, you start to feel it. But on this one, you can see that the front is only like, it's like this thick. Because they're like, well, let's move some of the electronics that are up here to the back. So it's got more of a back to it. But it's going to be a lot less on your face. It's actually balanced. So it's not going to be pulling one way or the other. It's kind of almost balanced up on the sides. And then this one can do a whole bunch more things that these ones cannot. One thing that this one can do is what they call the augmented reality, like I was talking about. And that's where, in this instance, their target, the reason why it's so expensive is they're targeting businesses. They're wanting people who believe in this whole metaverse idea to start having their employees work with this thing on their face. So hypothetically, if you could get one where the battery lasted long enough and it wasn't heavy on your face and it was easy to take on, put on and take off, you could just work all day with this thing on. You'd never have to buy new monitors. Because with this, you can have as many monitors as you want. It's taking up my whole field of view, so I could have a monitor here and one here. I could put one down here. Heck, I could put one behind me. And when I turn my head around, it'll be there. I could have this hypothetically in space, in this virtual space. And whenever I need to see what's on this screen, I could just turn and look. It's like, it's kind of crazy the abilities that you could have if this gets to what their goal is. And so what you can also do, what they did with this one that you can't do with these, is they have it to where it also has a live video feed of what's going on out here. So I can see what's going on in this space, and I could have a keyboard and a mouse, and you could have your computer. I could see my computer screen, and then I could see my virtual screens on top of it. So if you have a computer today, you can see that. And I have a video of that too, which hopefully we'll get a chance to play. I have a guy showing an example of it. And that one is like so sci-fi to me, it's crazy. It's like, I can't believe that that's where they're at now, but you know, you can understand why it's the $1,500. Anyhow, but the one thing that they did change was the controllers. Because of the fact that that has better cameras, the ability to see more, they don't need the sensors on the outside of that controller anymore. So they just hack that off. And now it's just the bottom part there. It's a little bit smaller, a little easier to use. Now, just before we get too much into, this is basically the end of my presentation. So I just want to show you a little bit what VR is. Some of it's boring. Some of it's like, who really cares? So I want to give everybody the opportunity, if you wanted to try virtual reality. If nobody's interested, I can show you a couple things in virtual reality that I enjoy doing and that you might potentially enjoy doing. The one thing I was going to talk about is one of the concerns a lot of people have with virtual reality. One of the concerns that I have is glasses. So when I first got my virtual reality, I would shove my really wide, I like wide glasses, so they cover a lot more of my field of view. And really cram it there and really squeezed in and they're fitting just right. Just didn't really ever damage my glasses, but they could just squeeze in there and sometimes they wouldn't be just right. They'd be pushing on my nose or pushing on the side of my head or something, and it just didn't feel right. So because of those other lenses, I went online and they have these little magnetic lenses that you can get. Okay. So they have these little magnetic, this is the lens that perfectly matches my right eye's prescription. And it has magnets on it. And all I do is take the Quest, and I put a magnetic deal in there, and all you just go, just clip this on. And then it's perfect for my prescription. I take my glasses off and it's perfectly for my prescription. Because funny enough, again, even though it's right here by your face, it's kind of trying to recreate as much of the real world as it can. So if you need corrective lenses, you're still gonna need them in here. It's not gonna change your view. It's not gonna change what you can actually see. Unless you need your glasses on. So I thought that was very interesting and something I didn't learn until I started looking at the virtual reality phone. But let me see if I can pull up one or two of those videos. I want to at least show you what this guy is doing here in this video, because I think it's very impressive. Let's pull up a separate YouTube page if we could. Let's see, just exit out.
Yeah, just that screenshot.
Other than games, what's well,
Sure. So other than games, and that's one of the things I wanted to show you once you actually go into virtual reality. One of the things you can do is they've taken, have you ever heard of a 360 video? 360 video is with a camera that records 360 degrees, so record the whole room. And you can watch it on your phone if you wanted to, and you can just turn your phone in the room and see what's going on. But with this, you can also see that in virtual reality. So some people have gone to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and they took 360 videos of every single room. And you can go watch that video and you can look around in the Museum of Art. And then some museums have also gone so far as to create an entire virtual experience where you can go anywhere in the, just a model. And you can go anywhere in the museum and then you can see the actual works of art on the wall. And you can actually see the plaque that's right next to it and read the actual plaque that's next to it. So I think it's really helpful for people who can't travel. It unlocks a whole bunch of opportunities. So you can, if you've ever used Google Earth or done one of those types of things, you can do it again, like Google Earth, you can drop into a street view. You can drop in at Disneyland and you can actually look around and see all the way around you. And since it's taking up, kind of all your visual senses, at least, it feels more like you're there than if you were just looking at it on a two-dimensional screen. So that's just one of the examples. Yeah, go ahead.
All that you have to pay for that surgery?
Sure. So that's a really good question. Do you have to pay for it? As of right now, because it's in its infancy, like I was talking about before, a lot of it's free or very, very cheap. So the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the videos they've uploaded to YouTube, you could watch those videos now, like I said, on your phone. And again, you can turn your phone in 360-degree space and see the same, very similar information. It's a little bit different when it's actually on your head and you're turning it like that. So that's a YouTube video that's free. The art exhibit, a lot of them are just in the browser. There are several most of the apps and games that are actually designed specifically for these devices do cost money. The most expensive one I've ever seen is $30. So most of them are about $10 if you're getting a unique experience. And I would say for the majority of those that are more than $10, they're a little bit more intense, if you will. So you can virtually golf. It's like a lot of the stuff you can do with the Wii, because it's motion controls. So you can bowl, you can golf, you can, throw a frisbee. The NFL just recently came out with the games where you can be the quarterback and you can actually throw the football. You can smack guys on the bottom after you have a good play. It's stuff you can virtually do. Yeah, go ahead.
Our son-in-law happens to work for a pharmaceutical company. And they are creating equipment for medical purposes.
Okay.
Recently, he went to one of the university medical centers in another state and was demonstrating how this particular piece of equipment was going to work.
Sure.
He shared that with us, and it was like you're talking about our hands. You could see the digital parts of our hands, and you could pull a drawer out, move doors and stuff. It's I'm thinking it's going to be a sales.
Yeah, that's another couple areas where they're really targeting industry, right? So like she said, if you're training someone in the shop to do something, wouldn't it be better to teach them a virtual thing that they can break rather than the actual thing? Have them actually know you can unscrew this on the engine, pull this piece out, and then you need to do that virtually, 3 times before you can ever touch an actual thing. That's a good example of one of those things in this new one, or that new one that we saw that shows what's actually happening. They can overlay things in real time. So they can, they have video examples of, if there's a product designer who's designed something that's gonna go on the outside of a motorcycle. And they're like, will this fit over the gas tank that you guys have designed? And so they can literally take the piece and put it on and make adjustments to it, and everybody can see. Sometimes it's not as easy for people who aren't the designers to picture what they've drawn on paper. So like if you are building a new house and you go and you are seeing it's just the studs, you can put this on, you can put the virtual reality on, and you could actually see what the wall's gonna look like. They can show you, oh, I don't actually like where this outlet is here. Could you relocate it to, here? And then you can actually see what's going on in your house before it's actually built. Or, just architects who are visiting the construction site, and they're like, oh, this isn't going how I planned. I need this to be here. And they can make adjustments in real time too, and then just make the plans that change that way. Very, very exciting, the amount of things they can do in industry. They can do it they're talking about doing it for medical procedures, so you don't have to practice on live things just yet. You can do that first. You can actually see what happens. There are some games that kind of virtually do that, where you can fake, do an operation on somebody, and it's a little bit more comical, not necessarily intense, but all they have to do is make a few tweaks, get the technology a little bit better, and it can be almost as exact. Again, one of the things that I was talking to Kata about when I first got here was, since you can't feel what's happening in virtual reality, there's people who are developing like special gloves that have like airbags in them and other things like that, where when you touch something, it detects what you're touching in virtual reality, and then it'll inflate the airbags that make your fingers feel like you're touching it. And then it'll actually feel like you're interacting with these things in virtual space. And then they have things you can wear that will vibrate in certain areas, or maybe those will have airbags that can pop up in certain areas, to where you can actually potentially at some point give someone a virtual hug, and they can actually feel where your arms are being placed on them. And you can feel their body, like you're not actually feeling it, obviously, but virtually you are. So these are all the kind of end goal possibilities of things that people would really, really like to do. Let me see if I can pull up at least one of those videos real quick to show you guys. Just go to YouTube. Oh. Right. And then if you could put in, I think just search Quest Pro. There we go. All right, and then we're looking for Marquez Brownlee. Look at this guy. He spent 7 days working in the metaverse. That's an interesting one I'd like to see. Here, oh, that's not quite it. Let me add his name in here in the search. All right, who cares about the metaverse? This guy does some really, really good technology stuff. He tends to be the guy I watch most often.
I mean, commercial was in first.
All right. First, watch him put this on and see what it looks like. All right, so you can see, all he did is he took his phone and he put the screen, his camera on his phone up to the lens on that new MetaQuest Pro. It might be a little bit hard for you guys to see, but this is his laptop. And it's got something like popping out of the screen, like three-dimensionally. And then it has 3 additional monitors. And those are all tied to his computer. So any work he does on those 3 monitors is tied directly to his computer. So all he has is one laptop, but now all of a sudden he has 4 possible screens, because he did the laptop screen, and then those 3 additional screens he can do work on. And like I said, all you have to do is buy that one laptop, and in this case, a $1,500 headset, but that's neither here nor there. If you already had the headset, you could expand any computer that you're using as long as you connect the 2 devices together. So I could expand that computer or my computer or the computer at work. You can expand it and be able to do tons of multitasking and all these different possibilities. So that was the first thing I wanted to show. And then there's something else a couple minutes in I want to skip to. Give me 1 second. Oops. Oh, right here. Oh, that's the other thing. So the other thing I forgot to mention about the Quest Pro is it has cameras on the inside of the thing, and it's tracking your facial features. It tracks your eye movement. So their goal is also, you don't even have to use your hands. You can just look at what you want to see. You can look and maybe blink or something like that. And it detects where your eyes are looking. It also can detect your facial features so that if you're doing this virtually with a family member or something like that, you can wink at them, you could, make a scowl at them. It really, really does exactly whatever your face does. It recreates it in virtual reality. So I'm just going to click that real quick. Oh, and then I'm going to push the play button.
But then there's also a suite of sensors on the inside facing your eyes, facing your face for face tracking. Okay, right now I'm looking at an alien face. But a little bit more interesting than that is the alien face is in real time showing what the headset sees my face doing. And so every expression that I make, every little facial movement, the eye movement, it's kind of a lot of illusions too, like the little mark on your face. I know when you talk and you make little micro expressions. So if I was in a virtual world and trying to get emotions from the person, then they would see.
Oh man, what a hoot. Yeah, so those are the main things I wanted you guys to see for the Quest 12. So he's really impressed by this. I'm really impressed by this, just the possibility of what it's potentially going to be in the future. And as you can see, they've already shrunk it down to be, obviously there's a big fat thing in the back, but it's so much smaller in the front already. Just in comparison to just a few years ago, there was this big, huge fat thing on. So the end goal would be again, just like sunglasses, or heaven forbid one day a contact lens. I don't know if I would be into that. I still need like regular contacts, but who knows? Who knows? I don't. That's for sure. All right. So who would like to either see or try something in virtual reality? We can go to a museum. We can. So the biggest barrier that I usually have is convincing people to put this on, because I'm going to be honest with all of you, when you have it on, you look like a complete idiot. To everybody else. But to you, once you get in there, it is insane how immersive it is, how much it changes what you're experiencing. It's really, really wild. So if nobody else wants to do it, any takers? Want to give it a try? We got a couple? Okay. So we can link this up so we can see exactly what they're seeing. As they're doing it, we can see what they're doing. And if I didn't mention this before, you can control this whole thing with your hands. So the really, really cool part is when you're selecting things, there'll be a little circle that's following your hands. And if you just pinch like this, you just pinch and open your fingers again, kind of like you're clicking with a mouse. So that's the only difference. Instead of clicking a mouse, you're clicking your thumb. So when you want to select something, you just boop, boop, boop. It's really, really cool. So let me just.
I bring the chair up.
Yeah, a chair is probably good. So you can use this from a sitting position. You don't have to be standing. That's probably best for most people the first time they try it. First time I ever tried it, I was sitting on my couch. I didn't want to risk, falling over or whatever. A lot of the questions I got from the folks I was asking it were about the Quest, where what are some of the things you think about it? What are some of the things you like? A lot of people were concerned about hearing about headaches, dizziness, motion sickness. Those things can be true, but 99% of the time, it's with things that have a lot of movement. When you're moving and it's maybe not moving exactly how you would expect it to, or if you have something that's like a roller coaster or something that's waving past you. So I tend to skip those on the first time somebody's trying it. And we'll just do something like, again, looking at a museum or looking at like a Google Earth type situation. So we'll probably just do those things first. Worst case scenario, if something doesn't work with your hands, I'll usually pretend to be your virtual arms. And I'll just be able to control it because I can see what's happening here on the TV. So I'm gonna commandeer Larry's TV here. Unfortunately, I don't think the folks on Zoom are gonna be able to see what we're doing here. Unfortunately, but we should be able to at least see it here. All right, first things first, I gotta turn on and calibrate it. I'm gonna do it from this chair. I can see just barely through this nose hole. I can just barely see out of one eyeball. So I've gotten pretty adept at moving around and being aware of what's going on. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for anybody else. All right, so I had these turned off to conserve the battery. So the battery only lasts. Hold please. There it is. All right, so the batteries on these only last in between 2 and 3 hours, depending on how intense the game or activity that you're doing is. If it's a little bit more intense, it might only even last for an hour. Because a lot of what the metaverse is interacting socially with other people. And so if you're online, you're streaming stuff and you have a video going, there's a whole bunch of stuff that'll really drain the battery. But anyhow, let me get this set real quick. I heard the very first, whoops, gotta redo that. The very first thing that you always have to do when you're setting this up is you have to tell the device where you're playing. And so because of the cameras on the outside, hang on, it thinks I'm standing up, so my face is in the floor right now. The very first thing you have to do is set a boundary. Come on. Okay, I have to put the floor down. The floor is right here right now. So what it does is it keeps track of where you are in the room. There we go. So that you don't accidentally smash into something. So I could be standing up and I could, be doing things and I would create a virtual wall that says, I don't want to go past this space. I don't want to go right here because I'll bump into this lectern. So I create a virtual wall here. And then I would create a wall here, so I don't smash into the TV. They create a wall here and here. Right now, it's actually showing me a black and white view of the room, so I can actually see what's going on. But, so I've set where the floor is now. It's at the appropriate height. Sit back down. All right, this time I'm saying you have an option to say you're just going to sit and you're not going to move. So it just has a circle immediately around me. So if I get outside of that circle, that's where it's going to change things. All right, let's see. I'm going to put this on the TV so hopefully you guys can see what I'm seeing. Next. All right. Can you guys see what I see? Okay. All right. Can you see a mirror over there? Let me see if I can go over there. Hang on. This one. Oh, I wonder if I can bring that mirror closer. Come here, little guy. Oh, so see, I set my virtual avatar. This is what I think I look like virtually. Usually wear a blue baseball cap. You can change kind of everything. Your body shape, your skin tone, your hair, your face shape, jawline, all that stuff. You can really customize what you look like and you can look like whatever you want to. But this is the one that I picked in particular. Great. But then you can kind of take a look at yourself virtually. You can see this is the left controller and this is the right. So my arms are crisscrossed. And sometimes it's like, what? What are you doing? All right. So why don't we have you go first here since you're closest? And then I guess I'd like to ask what you prefer to do. Would you like to go visit a museum or would you like to do a virtual horseback ride or would you like to maybe try using your hands for a game? Do you have a preference? Museum, all right, I know how to do that one easily. So we go to the browser. This is an example of a free experience. There's music stuff you can do. I really like this game here. It's called Cadenza. And all you do is, it's like a big xylophone and you hit the buttons when these little things come closer to you and it plays music. I like that one. All right, the National Gallery. This is a really cool one. All right. So you can see that they've created a virtual entire gallery. And we will go into VR here in a second. All right. Well, we'll enter VR first, and then I'll put this on your head. Allow. All right, so before I put it on, I'm just gonna show you, so like we were talking about, I am now in this museum. I'm actually here. And I can see, I just walked in through these doors, or maybe the doors are on the corner. And, there's nobody else here. Oh, this is great. I've never got a museum all to myself before. So in this case, they probably took 360-degree photos at each one of these little circle locations. Can you guys see those on the floor?
Yeah.
So that's probably where you can go to look at these things. So I'm just gonna do an example real quick and then I'll pass it over to you. So I'm going to this circle. So now I'm here and it's like I'm actually standing in front of it. And I can, kind of appreciate what's going on in this. And just look exactly how it would look if I was here. And then if I wasn't pretending like I was in this circle, can you guys see this blue circle or is it just me?
Yeah.
Dang it, okay. So there's a boundary. If I start to go outside the boundary, I can now see you guys because it's like, oh, you're outside of the space you're supposed to be in. Don't bump into anything. Anyhow, you can, I wonder if we can go closer. Let me find out. Oh, I went in the corner. That was interesting. All right, so I can actually make out what this one says here. It says, the Santa Croce, C-R-O-C-E, altarpiece, about 1324 to 1325. These panels, the text is really small. But anyhow, so you can kind of get an idea as to what they're going for here. But let me pass it over to you and then we'll kind of take you around a little bit. Right. Right. You want to come sit right here? You don't need those glasses for distance, do you? You can get it close enough. All right, so the very first thing that's hardest is getting it set just right. I have an enormous head, so I'll probably have to tighten this quite a bit. I'm just gonna tighten it around the back real quick. So I don't mess in here up here. But tighten it on the top as well. How's that feel? Does it feel like you can let go and it would stay on there snug? Okay, oh, perfect. So one thing I will note, because I was just in there, this is again, it's kind of taking up her whole field of view, and we only have a two-dimensional screen that we can see. So it's actually, you can probably see a lot more than what we can see presented here. So I'm going to be her virtual arm real quick. So another thing that you can do, instead of having to turn your head, you can use the joysticks on this device and just kind of turn it a circle, and it will turn where you're looking. So you don't, if there is something behind you, you don't have to turn all the way around. You can just use this. So why don't we have you private control it? We'll see how it goes. And if you need help. So what you will do is this button, there's a button here with your finger. Okay? Anywhere on the floor with one of those circles, you should be able to aim the controller and then pull the trigger. It will take you to that circle. No dice. Here, let me see if I can get it in. This is where it gets tough, because I'm in the. I'm not in there. Come on, little guy. Where are you? I'm gonna step to the other side of you, quick. All right. Where is it? There is it. Should be over here somewhere. There it is. All right, I'm getting out. Come on. Oh, it's on the wall. There we go. So it's a little bit harder when there's somebody who's not as experienced with the controller to show them the first time. There are, when you first put this on, there are things that kind of teach you how to use the controller and how those things are all gonna work. So that makes it a
So
little
the
bit.
circles move you from one room to the next.
Right, yeah. The circle is where they would have taken a picture when they were actually at. Maybe it's over there. Yeah. Oh, there it is, there it is. Come on. Doesn't want to work with this here. Well. All right, let's at least turn and see where we're at here. So we're still back where we were before. Okay, so it says I'm pointing it over there. So I need to go way over there. There we go. Get me a better idea. See if we can go to the next row. Why is it not pointing over there anymore?
Taking yourself.
Let's see the pointing device. Oh, we're back in the corner. Goodness. Here, maybe you can point it for us. I'm gonna put it back in your hand real quick. All right, you pointed at one of the circles. Oh, there it is. There you go. So just give it one squeeze right here. Oops.
I'm gonna take it.
Squeeze it once and let go.
Go
Hmm.
and get out of the room.
I wonder if I'm curious if it's because of this. Oh, you almost made it. Yeah, keep on going. All right, so it's not as easy as virtual is really walking. Virtual walking is tough. Hey, she's getting it. There we go.
I'm not getting out of the room.
There we go. We're halfway across the room now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, closer to the other ones. I'm gonna move this because this might be causing a screw. Let's try to, oh, there you go. Oh, wow, we went backwards.
Tony, so that's like a video that was made by the museum.
So the museum, in this case, it's not actually videos, it's just pictures.
Oh,
But they did have a camera that can see in 360 degrees. And they put it in front of one art piece and they took a picture. And then they moved over a little bit and took another picture, and then they moved it over a little bit and took another picture. And then they uploaded it all. This is actually just in the web browser. So this is gonna,
go to a museum where there's actually people there.
yeah.
In real time.
Well, the real time, I'm not so sure. That would take I mean, as long as somebody was sending the data out, then sure, you could tune into somebody's live stream if they had a 360-degree camera. Yeah, that's entirely possible. Yeah.
That's
Actually working up a sweat.
Let somebody else.
All right, let's give her a hand. All right. Let's see. Did you want to try it some too?
I'll pass.
No, okay. Let me just show you guys. Like I was saying before, what it can do with tracking your thing as well. Loosen this up again for my big old cranium. All right, there we go. Loosen the top part. All right. All right, we're going in. You okay?
No.
Oh, all right. Oh, no. All right.
Shop.
So.
Mine.
That's a nice looking mix. Let's go over there. Oh, is that what was happening? The other controller was interfering with our fun. That's where our problem was tracking the other controller. All right. Why does it keep switching back and forth? Wow. I'm back. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. All right, anyhow. Let's leave this particular experience. All right. Let's jump into our hand physics. That one. You can see this is also kind of following my face. Wherever I look. This is following me.
Lots. Connected.
Okay,
Oh, no. We'll get it back on.
don't worry, we'll get it back.
As long as they find the right control.
I gotta notice that Xfinity is having some.
Yes, so did I.
Oh, no, really?
Any issues?
Aw.
Internet.
Well, let me see. Let me try this. You know if this comes on or not. Yeah, it's not gonna be able to send it.
Yeah.
Oh, man, what awful timing. Oh my gosh, if you guys see what I can see right now? There's these virtual arms. And there's the bone right here is across this way. And then the 2 and the 4 arm are up there. And the hand bones are over here. It's all disjointed.
Oh, no.
Well, darn,
It said it's supposed to be fixed by 11:10.
11:10, what time is it now?
According to time checking. These
There's. Oh, what a butt. All right, well, did anybody else want to go in without anybody else see what they're doing? You could at least play them still.
Cardboard blanket. Keep your phone in.
Yeah, that's another thing you can do too. There was. When YouTube put out their virtual, so YouTube has a virtual reality section. You can watch virtual reality in 360-degree videos on YouTube. And Google put out a device called Google Cardboard. It's a device you folded and it had 2 lenses on it. You stuck your phone on one end and those lenses put your eyes again far enough away to make it look like your phone wasn't right there. And you could just look around in those videos and see all that stuff. What bad timing for Comcast. My goodness.
What is that device that you're doing, add to Google? When you just mentioned, what is it
Oh, it's
called?
called Google Cardboard.
Cardboard?
That's what they called it, because it's made of cardboard, except for the lenses that they put in it. And that, I don't know if they still have them, but I think it was only like 50 or 60 bucks or something, because it was just this little thing. So you need your phone to really do it.
No, like kind of like going to the 3D show.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, more or less, yeah. And it uses your phone's motion to kind of track everything. If I could draw a parallel to where our phones were and where they are now, like compared to all the stuff our phones can do today. You guys remember the very first iPhone in like 2007? Everybody was just doing stuff like pretending to drink a beer. The motion of your phone would drain it out, or you could do the shotgun sounds. Here we back. Oh,
Well, I just tapped back to it.
well, if you're casting, maybe I can cast. Let's
It
see.
should be able to.
Let's give it a try. Maybe our internet's back. All right. Do my hands. There we go. All right, see if we can cast. See, I'm just doing little pinches.
And you are,
Okay, you can see what I see because I can see what you see. All right, we find this chair. Oh, actually, this one, I don't think likes it when you're sitting down. Yeah. Maybe this one. All right, so you can see it, sees my hands. Whatever I do to this. It's seen from the camera, so the camera can only see this side of my hand. So I can't see my other fingers, so you're not really moving. But if you go like that, you only have to just be able to, if the camera can't see it. This your hands. So I can grab this, virtually carry it around. We say, push a button. Pause this. I was trying so last night, very difficult. All right, so if you guys remember this scene, you kids probably play. You know, where this is. In this. Come on, like I was saying before, it's a little bit hard to grab things you can't actually feel. All right, where does the triangle go? That's right. With my ball gun. So I'm kind of manipulating this. This is the hard part. The triangle just. There we go. I'll take it back out. Okay. And just a whole bunch of different puzzles for you to try and solve. Like we've all probably played these in real life. See, I'm picking this up and I can kind of move it. Wherever. Come on. Yep, so move this one down. Oh, that one. Move this butter stick. Come on. Yeah. So it's not perfect. All right. Come on. Yay. Just a cool example of how it can do everything in your hands. Yay. Really cool. Anyhow, if you want to go back to the full screen. What's this?
You can watch this one.
All right, so. Let's look into. Oh, man. So this is kind of a sign of how the arms get kind of disjointed. They're kind of all over the place. All right, so. There's Star Wars, for any Star Wars fans, you can use a lightsaber. There's a, oh, this was a really cool one.
Okay.
This was a really cool one. Oh, I have to use controllers for this. But I really think this one might be up a few people's alleys here. This is a virtual experience that was created at the real Anne Frank house. This one's actually an app. The other one, the museum that we were doing was in the internet browser. This one, they actually made an application. So you can, it's created, I think it's mostly all virtual. Yeah. But you can move around in the house. You see, you know, this is what the house where the Anne Frank and her family were hiding. You see that this really steep staircase. It's a very small amount of space. It's amazing how much stuff they crammed into this little building. This will come through that hill, I suppose. Go back through that building. Oh. Coming in the marker on the floor. Oh, I have to stick. Okay, so that staircase is really steep there. I want to go around the corner. Oh, there's immediately a door here. So when you first go through that little secret passageway, there's a staircase, and then there's this. This is the one bedroom that they have. And like you can see.
More happy than I can say that we can never go out. I'm terribly afraid that we will be caught and executed. That, of course, is not a very pleasant prospect.
You can kind of interact with some of the things in the room, like this book over here, I guess it's telling us.
We always look forward to those Saturdays because that's when the books arrive. Normal people don't know how much books mean to someone who is locked up. Reading, studying, and the radio are our only distraction.
They're keeping track of all the siblings' heights on the wall here.
It's terrible being sick here. Whenever I had to cough, I would crawl down deeper under the blankets and try to quieten my throat as gently as possible. But enough about being sick now. I'm feeling dandy again. I've grown half an inch, put on 2 pounds, pale and eager to learn.
That's all experience, which is really surreal when I went through the whole thing. They have a story mode where you can just kind of experience each individual thing. This is the only other like bedroom space that they had. And then I think back through here is just back to that bathroom slash kitchen that we were in before. Well, then there is the upstairs, which doesn't have a lot much more space either. Yeah, so we're back in that kitchen slash bathroom space. So that's all there was for that floor. And then. So this is a good example. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to go visit the actual Anne Frank house and take an actual tour. But I can at least do this virtually and kind of get a somewhat of an experience and see similar to, you know, what their living conditions were like. It's all a little cartoony, looks a little bit like a video game as compared to probably seeing in real life. But, you know, as compared to somebody who might not ever get to go, it's a little bit more kind of in-depth of an experience. This is another example of one that I kind of did late at night all by myself. It really kind of gets you a little bit more emotional. There's not, you know, and there's not other people around. But that's just another example of one that I really, really enjoy. They do have some funny ones like this job simulator where you sit in the desk and you can, you know, pretend to work, throw donuts at your boss and things like that. They have this one that's called Gun Club Virtual Reality. It has full archery, you're kind of like in a little shooting range, and you can just kind of access all the different weapons and actually, you know, kind of cycle the chambers and things like that. So that's kind of neat. They have this fishing game. Of course, probably needs an update. That should download pretty quickly. They have these experiences. So this is, or like this one, they're videos that won Emmys just for the cartoon themselves, but then they turn into a virtual reality experience that you can watch. So that's pretty cool. It's bigger than I thought. So when they talk about, oh, this has to do an update also. When they talk about the metaverse, the biggest thing they're talking about right now is this one right here. It's called Meta Horizon, and it's worlds. So you go in there, one of the worlds is a stand-up comedy place. One of the, and like they just kind of have a whole slew of different things. They have poker, you can just sit at a table and have other people and actually, like, you know, kind of throw your chips on the table, pick up your cards and be interacting with other people like as if you're at a poker table. They have these music type ones where you're just trying to keep up with the rhythm of the music. Tons and tons of different, just really, really fun and neat stuff. This was one that I maybe want to show in case anybody's interested in a flight simulator type game. Okay, that's interesting.
These are like on their website or something?
Yeah, so all these, I don't know if we can turn them down or not. Yes, so all of these are purchasable through this one's a game that I purchased. You take your helmet and you put it on. And then look at this. You get to enjoy what computers used to look like. Get your 3D printed save button. Oh, memory card, whatever you want to call it.
Like floppy disk. Floppy disk.
I had to use them through middle school. Don't want to bother too much with that. Where is the buttons? What do we do? Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Okay. laser pointer. Let's do. Well, if you just want to fly, how do we fly? Maybe you just put a helmet on. All right, so now I'm in a cockpit. I'm gonna have fun. Perfect. Let's just check our flaps first. Look, 3 flights right there. Now where's the flaps? Oh, don't want to put the gear up just yet. Flaps, here we go. Let me check my flaps. Everything looks good. We've been cleared for takeoff. Enable fuel flow. What? Anybody see that? Oh, right here. All right, the fuel is good. Energize the magneto. Ooh, we have juice. Engine start. Uh-oh. Come on. Oh, add throttle. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, this is the one that makes me nauseous. Oh. Oh, gear up.
Turbulence.
Oh, boy. Oh, oh. I know when we land this thing. There we go. A little too short. Make the throttle back. Put the gear down. Oh no. Oh no. Just landed the crash. Oh, look. I've never died on here before. That's funny. Oh, look. The screens are all cracked. That's cool. So most of the games have things that you can interact with like this. And it's kind of neat because it has its own physics to it. I could throw it across the room. It'll probably show back up in a second, but you could even throw the helmet probably. It's just pretty cool, the amount of thought they put into these things. See if I can get something through the window. Probably has glass in it. Oh, that was my problem. The rudder's over here. Anyhow, cool examples. Anybody want to see anything more of anything? Did anybody else have an interest in trying out anything? Oh, man, are you sure? I don't want to go back to work. I can keep playing here with you guys. Some of the other interesting things that I won't show you here right now are games like this one here. It's called Carly and the Reaper Man. And then there's one down here called Acorns. So these ones combine the virtual reality with either a computer or a cell phone. So Acorns, there's a game that you guys could all download on your phones. And then I would be this big tree, and each of the people on their phones would be a squirrel. And they would be trying to steal my acorns. And so me as the big, huge tree, I could pick up a squirrel and throw them, or I could, take some sap and throw it at them to slow them down. They get stuck in it and they slow down. In this Carly and the Reaper Man, you're trying to work together to where the Reaper Man is this big, huge floating skeleton. You have these hands, and somebody on the computer is running around trying to get somewhere, and you might have to grab a platform and put it here for them to be able to walk. So it kind of creates some cool interactive things for you to do with people who don't have their own virtual reality headset. Really cool. Lots of lunch. But anyhow, hopefully that showed you a bunch of stuff you guys have zero interest in. But you might know at least a little bit about what other people are getting into and what all the kids are getting into now. Anybody else have any other questions or anything?
Now, does Metaverse own Facebook?
So Facebook, yeah, they created a parent company called Meta. So Meta owns Facebook. Meta owns these virtual reality headsets. They're trying to differentiate Facebook from the heads. So you don't have to have a Facebook to have one of these headsets, but the same company overall owns them. I don't know if you knew, but Google did something similar in like 2017, I want to say. They split it off. It's no longer, their parent company is called Alphabet. So they own Google and they own YouTube and they own all the other things that Google's involved with. But their parent company is called Alphabet. So Facebook just something similar. Another drawback is your face kind of starts to get all red from this, thing interacting and. You go out, you get done playing your virtuality, you go to the store, you get this big old red mark on your forehead. No, right?
George, then he's got one at home, he loves playing on.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Now you have to go back.
Anybody else have any good virtual reality jokes? I got a good joke. So this year for Christmas, I got a dad joke calendar for my wife. You tear off a calendar every day. And then my boss at work got me the same thing, 2 different calendars, so I kind of get to pick. Yesterday's joke was, can a match box? No, but a tin can. That's true, that's true.
Because he's a fun guy.
He's not so much money to write reports, he's a fun guy. Yeah. My grandpa used to always tell that joke. He was talking about his toenails.
Yeah, we're all done.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming.
Yeah. Is that?